From Broadway to Billion Dollar Dreams, in this episode, we're going to talk about how Mark Raumaker turned theatrics into real estate triumphs. We had an absolute blast chopping it up, talking about how to run high-performing teams, how to absolutely kill it in your first year in real estate. We dig into lessons he learned on the theater in Broadway that now translate to real estate. We actually find out a whole bunch of information about how Sirhan's expansion to Orlando is very different than you may think. You said something actually that really stood out to me when I was doing my research on you. And you said, building a strong team starts with believing in people before they believe in themselves. Where does that?
I said that.
Yeah, you said that.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, I think when you run a team or run a brokerage, I feel like a lot of agents who are really successful, that's just their natural progression. They just think that's next, right? It's when you date somebody, you get engaged, right? Then you get married. So everybody kind of thinks like that. And my team kind of started accidentally because I was on a team and I didn't really want to run a team, but I was organically creating something that people were attracted to. And then I realized when I had, I think 3 or 4 members, I was more passionate about their success than my own. Like naturally, I just became obsessed with it. It was cool. It was because I'm competitive. I like to win. So then I was winning, and then I was like, oh, we can win as a group. That's even better, right? It's not an individual thing. It's a team sport. So I started really caring. Like I realized that to be a team leader or to anything like that, you really had to like genuinely care about their success, whether it was like a sale or a deal or a family event. If they get to go on vacation, you were a tiny part of that, right? When people, when they post about even a car they bought that maybe they couldn't afford before. So yeah, I feel like that's what really, that drives me for sure.
Yeah, I like to comment because I can't tell you the amount of conversations we've had internally when we're doing goal setting and looking back. And I'm constantly telling people, I'm like, who were you 10 years ago? And they give me a snapshot, and it's usually not who they are today. And I was like, listen, the whole purpose of what we're doing is, if we do this right, you're going to be able to accomplish 20 years of growth in the next 5, right? And I see more in you than you see in yourself because somebody else saw that in me. Did you have anybody that did the same thing for you, like mentors or people that you looked up to that showed you what was possible when you were starting out?
I mean, naturally in my first office, and then we had good team leaders at the beginning. But I always say I went to the school of the pavement, where I listened to podcasts. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I started to realize that if the more I could Frankenstein my business, where I would take from that, like the amount of content that's available right now, you know what I mean? I like people that I've never met are my mentors.
So back in 2012, when I got started in real estate, Gary Vee was one of the first people that I stumbled across. And he actually didn't really get a lot of traction until 2015. But it was 3 years of me like incessantly consuming his content and implementing his strategies. Is there anybody that sticks out in your brain of people you met early on or you followed early on that you were consuming their content?
Yeah, for sure. I think I listened to Real Estate Rock Stars, that podcast, a lot. And even off the top of my head, I can't remember who the host is. But it was just about the guest. I would always remember that everybody ran their businesses so different, from solo agents to investors to team leaders. And I would just, every time I went to an appointment, I would just plug and play. I wasn't even taking notes. I was just consuming it, and whatever stuck, you know what I mean? And then if there was something I liked, whether it was a tool or a strategy, I'd pause it and I would just write it in my note, like look it up. Right. And then I would implement it as fast as possible if I could. Obviously, Ryan Sirhan is a big mentor of mine. I didn't really know who he was until 2022. I took my team through the Salt Lake Sirhan course. Right. And at that point I was like, oh, he speaks the same language as I do. And I looked up to him a lot, and I thought he was a smart guy. But I never also thought it was wise to pick one person and be like, I'm going to do it just like that, because we're such individuals. Right. But again, like taking from different things and be like, all right, this is who I am now.
So in terms of through lines of all those different things, because I love the way you approach it. We all take other people's ideas and make them our own with our own style and flavor. What are the through lines that you see consistently that top performers do to find success in real estate?
They answer their phone first. Right. No, I think systems and processes are super important. How to make things really easy for your agents and for the clients, because curveballs can happen so fast with a real estate transaction or a lead flow. And if you can kind of take some of that stress away from them as fast as possible without them almost thinking about there's things happening, I think that's a top producer always does that. And I think also really listening in real time. And if you have something set and it works, don't be so glued to it. Like
Mhm.
always looking to improve a system process or a skill set, right? I think that's a big thing too. I'm always like I always think like I don't ever want to be the smartest in the room. I never say I'm the smartest one. If I don't know something, I'll be the first person to say I have no idea how that works. So teach me, or find somebody that can teach me, or I'll find somebody that can teach me. I think a lot of big top producers do that.
So pick up your phone. Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't think you're the smartest guy in the room. And I also think what got you here won't get you there. Like there's the success trap in real estate. An agent, starts dominating a neighborhood or a city, or find some onus of success. They stop growing, and then the team members realize that, well, they're not growing. This may not be the place for me. They start leaving. Everything starts imploding. I mean, you've probably seen that in other teams throughout the years. I think those are all great, great points. Through your journey, how did you grow your leadership team with you and your team? We'll get into the Sirhan brokerage expansion, but I want to know, like, are you doing everything yourself? Did you develop other leaders underneath you to help you integrate some of the bolt-ons that you're implementing? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a solid question. So our team has kind of gone through so many different versions. We were with EXP before, so it was the revenue share
Yeah.
expansion situation, which I really enjoyed. Looking back, it was very hard, but I learned a lot. My wife and I run our team, and we used to sell together. So when we first got in the business, we were both. I would do the sellers, she would do the buyers. It was an awesome dynamic. And then we moved and started our own thing. It was just her and I. And she literally said, I do not like selling. I don't like selling, but I love the process of it. I was
Yeah.
like, well, I don't like the process of it, right? Just a natural progression but it was cool. So what would happen is I would get a client, I would get him under contract, and then she would take over, not as a basic transaction coordinator. She would pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm Sarah. And we would do the consultations together. She's like, I'm taking over now. Mark's still around, but like I'm better at this than he is. So now I'm in control. And I would still negotiate. But so that created just our natural like systems and processes. And then when agents came on, I would lead them through sales and training and conversations and scripting. And then she would lead them through, this is how you write a contract. This is what it means. These are the laws. This is all this, right? So it just naturally happened like that. And then, so we became the leaders that way. And then when agents would come on with the recruiting part of it, we would make a tiny incentive for, if an agent brought on another agent, you would make 5% override from them for always and forever. Right. So we would lose some money on it, but it would incentivize them financially to be invested in their business. So naturally leaders were kind of put into place, as long as the agent was good and worked hard and made sense. So it was a tiny little thing. But if Rob brought on Liza, and so Liza could call Rob at any time, knowing that you're going to get paid if I close this deal. But then Rob could call me, or Liza could call me. It became a nice little natural leadership thing where nobody had roles, nobody had titles, but everybody was really invested in each other's success.
I think that's a key, right? You said it at the very beginning, the leaders, I think, need to be able to see more in their people than the people see in themselves. By proximity, if you build that into your culture and naturally, and you create a culture of abundance, you're going to see that happen internally. Where my favorite thing to do is walk down the hallway, hear laughing, hear of agents helping other agents with things that were a big problem to them 5 years ago, which is a huge deal to a brand new agent. But for people like us, we laugh. We're like, well, that's a 2 out of 10 problem compared to this problem.
Right.
And I think first you learn, first you learn, then you earn, then you return, right? And you're kind of in that returning stage where you hone the sword, and you're trying to give back to your team at the same time, deliver service to your clientele at a high level, right?
Well, yeah. And if you think about it, even as a buyer or seller, if you have three agents kind of on the deal, right, of communication or brainstorming or problem solving, even behind the
Yeah.
scenes, that's a great service, and also when you teach, you learn better, you learn more, I always think like when you jump in and you're helping somebody, you're probably challenged a lot more than just going day to day and whatever you're doing.
Yeah, my wife and I developed a similar cadence. So like we used to sell together, and she's very CEO brain, got her MBA from the Richard Ivey School of Business. Like spreadsheets are her jam. I hate them. She's the math, I'm the art, we like to say, right? And
That's exactly.
I love brokering deals, and she loves helping everything on the back end happen seamlessly. And she's really the money side of things. She really, really understands. And I think recognizing your powers for your clientele and painting a clear picture for them allows you to stand in your power and execute. But was it always like that for you guys, or did you go through some attrition to get there?
I think there was some attrition. There's natural, both of us are like to be in control, right? And to make sure it's there, make sure it gets done and done the right way. I think that's a natural thing to have. And through time, through the years, like there's only so many minutes in a day. So then it became natural where I just started doing more of that, and she was doing more of this. And then we would kind of check in with each other. It wasn't that organized of like, this is how we're going to run a business. It was somewhat sloppy, right? But it organically created this like, oh, okay, so how are the numbers looking? How many homes? Like I used to be obsessed with how many homes we sell every month, which I am still, but I used to track it. And then I ran out of time to do it. And she's like, I'll do it. I want to do it. And then now I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize we sold that many homes. That's amazing. So it became like, now we know, like, you stay in your lane, I'll stay in my lane. Every once in a while, we'll pick at each other. You know what I mean? And we have to remind each other, like, no, I got it. That's what I do. And we're like, oh, right.
I think that is the process. A lot of people, when they get into business, they're looking for the easy button, the blueprint. And like you said earlier, it's different for everybody, right? Like we both know Ryan, different capacities. And people would joke like, you want to be the Ryan Sirhan of Canada. I'm like, I actually don't. I don't think I ever want to deal with his level of fame. And I like my anonymity, but there's some really cool things that we synergize on. There's things I do different. There's things he does differently. But it was actually doing the work over the last decade plus that gave us the ability to see who we actually are today. If you don't do the work, you never discover that piece, right?
Right. And it's like, I tell everybody, it's just like a sports now. It's like putting the reps in. You know what I mean? Over and over and over and over, whether it's content, whether it's sales, whether it's leadership, you in real time, you don't even realize you're doing it if you're doing it right. You know what I mean? And then and you can look back and be like, that's crazy. That's crazy where I'm at or what I know now, what I still don't know, but I know that if you put the reps in, you're going to be fine.
So who is Mark? Well, how long have you been in the business? Just ask you that question first.
29 years. 9 years. 2016 I got it.
Who were you 10 years ago?
I was a professional actor.
Interesting.
So I moved to New York when I was 18 years old, and I studied musical theater. So I got my certificate of theater in New York and did Broadway shows, Broadway tours, sang, danced, acted. And then in 2012, my wife and I, we just got married, and we met she was a professional actress as well. And we met in a show, and we toured for 6 years kind of apart, which was fine and normal in that lifestyle. We just kind of got tired of it. We took a break from New York and moved to Orlando just to say, hey, let's move away for a year. Let's shake our heads a little bit. We worked at Disney World as professional actors, and we said, we'll go back. And we never went back. so
weather's pretty good in Orlando, I must say.
Yeah, weather's good, and Disney was really fun to work with. We didn't work for that kind of corporate situation before, and learning just like customer service at a high level, like making a memory for somebody who's paying to do something was special. And then 3 years in, we kind of realized, oh, this isn't the long-term play. This was a bridge to where we go next. And that's when we got our real estate license.
That's super interesting. I do think like finding purpose in your work is super important. I was with a developer this morning who took the worst building probably I've ever sold. Like there were people living there who should not have been living there. Fish were getting put in the HVAC vents because it was chaos. And we actually helped the family selling it because they called me and they had a property manager that was not doing what he was supposed to be doing. They kept giving him money to like upgrade the windows and do stuff, and the money would just disappear, right? So we got the call from the family consultant on it. We're like, listen, like it's more important for you guys to get out of this than it is to necessarily make as much as humanly possible. Obviously, that's the target, but this is a time vampire for you. Now, it went into multiple offers. There were 3 parties. The guy that got it very, very smart investor developer, some amazing ethics and principles. And for him, it was actually taking a building that was right next to a city hall and changing the landscape of a downtown that was struggling. And he's like, he'd never done it before. And he's like, I kind of felt like I bit off more than I can chew. Just walked through the building. You should have seen him light up. He put a world-class golf simulator, like lounge in the main floor, a world-class coaches there. All the units upstairs, gutted them, all new drywall. The layouts are amazing, historic building. And he's going to make a lot of money, I'm sure, on the refi. But really, he was more excited about the story and the purpose. And it really does matter. Like you working for Disney, having that purpose. When you got into real estate, how do you keep track on making sure you're enjoying what you're doing? And I guess, how did real estate even happen for you?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, I've always been a storyteller, right? That's what an actor does. You get a script and you tell it in your own way, in your own voice, your own take on it. So real estate to me, Sarah, my wife, Sarah's family we're all in real estate. And I was always curious. I remember when I lived in New York, I took a class about real estate. It freaked me out because I also thought, if I'm going to do something, I want to do it full out. I'm not going to do it on this. I'm an actor. So why would I? That's just not the way I'm going to do it. So Disney worked out where our schedule was really light. You get taken care of really well there. So we're like, let's get our license. Let's do it. We'll see. Like everybody that I was in shows with were just buying houses because they were first-time home buyers. Everybody was like, oh, I just bought a house today. I bought a house today. I bought a house. Like it was like daily. I said, well, I could probably, we have clientele here. They're going to trust us. They already know us. They like us. So got our license and we were going to dabble. And the first year I sold 23 homes.
That's a pretty good number.
Yeah. And I was like, but I was with a brokerage that goals were very high. So it was like half of what my first goal. And I was like, oh, I sucked this year. Like my mindset was like, this is terrible. And then the next year, Sarah really dove into it with me as well. And then together we sold 54. And it just, and then we were acting, we were like, it's in the way. Like working at Disney is completely in our way of doing it. And that's when we started our own thing and did our own thing. But to me now, like we started shooting like video, like 2017, 2018, which again, it's so confusing looking back in the real estate industry, like who started the videos first, you know what I mean? Like, when did it take off? I remember when I first got into it, they were telling everybody do video. They're still saying it. Everybody's still saying it. Right. But we would go to a listing and I would basically do an intro, say, hey, this is Mark. This is my new listing. And then it would be the slideshow of the pictures. Do you know what I mean? But I was like, I have to be on the video. And then I would put it on Facebook and all my sphere saw it. And it was literally showing everybody that I was successful. It had nothing to do with selling the house. Right. It was just showing like, hey, I have another listing. And then, but I started finding joy in being creative. Right. So then we'd have more fun with the videos. Right. Cause I was an actor at heart and camera would come up. That's easy for me. Right. I was almost more natural in front of the camera than I was doing deals yet because I was new at it. Right. So that was like my safety net. So still to this day now creating content or whatever that might be, like that's the joy in it. And then also just like being creative in a deal, man, like talking to people or helping people and finding out their story and helping them continue with their story. That's where my passion is for sure.
Yeah. Looking around corners, same conversation with the same developer. We were outside the building and he's like, this was a big problem. He's like, I like problems. Can you find me 5 more problems? Right. And I laugh because I'm like, you're paid in direct proportion to the level of problems that you're able to solve. I think a good real estate agent, runs towards that and, thinks of ways to think around corners for clients and solve their problems for them. Because you said this earlier, like if you can anticipate what your client needs before they even need it, solve the problem, tell them you did it, you can charge whatever you want. Because I mean, that's invaluable service. Right?
And they give you all the business in the world, all their friends, all their family, because it was low stress. It was an enjoyable experience that when they went to Google, it's supposed to be a terrible experience. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that is very true. I would say Jeff Bezos can't even compete with us because he's not willing to solve the problems to the level that we are. He will do it cheaper. He will do it faster. He'll put a bunch of agents in a factory and pay them less than 1% to sell a house. But again, you're paid in direct proportion to the level of problems that you are going to
100%.
solve. I want to go back though. You said 23 deals in your first year. Your goal was 50. I still would have been proud of you. What were the things that you did? Were they giving you leads? Was it just you prospected every day? Like, how did you bang out those 23 deals in your first year?
It was all Sphere. It was all the people I was already working with because I had the other job, right? So I would go in and I would pull up my computer between shows and I would get on my MLS and like tippity tappity, like just pretend, you know what I mean? It's like, look at the houses I'm looking at. And then it just naturally became like people were excited for me as well. My friends were. And then when I would post a video, I was really good at like back then I would post if I had a closing, I would do a selfie of the closing as opposed to just sold, right? Which
Sure.
it's super normal. But I would do that. And then what happened was I started work, like I did a few open houses, got some that way because I knew that was what you had to do. And then I would do a selfie of a new stranger that I helped sell. And then my sphere would be like, oh, it's not just, okay, he must be better than we thought. So it just was a snowball effect. The second year, I ran out of my sphere. So I prospected FSBOs like a maniac that year. It's still the only year I've ever prospected FSBOs. Just my second year, I think I went on 5 appointments a week, and I was terrible. I was terrible at the conversations. I was terrible at the pitches. I was terrible. But through that year, I was cutting my teeth, and I started to realize I was like, oh, they all say the same thing, just in different order. They
Pattern
know that.
recognition, right?
Yeah. And I was like, this is an improv, right? But they know the script and I don't. So how do I, so then it just became a little game, right? I'm competitive and I like winning. So then it just became a game, what it was. And I think out of the, I did 30 something that year. I think 13 of them were FSBOs, but that was after 500 that I didn't get, but that was
So a flash FSBO training, I'd be remiss to not ask you this. What were the patterns and what were some of the answers to the patterns that you would see? Like, what were their objections?
Yeah. I mean, it was always like, it was to me, what I realized is how uneducated they were on just what the real estate industry does, like how to really sell a house. Most of them had such a bad experience with an agent that they were like, I'm not going through that again. So then it was kind of a long play. Like I think 2 of them, I signed them that day. I went to their house and signed them that day, but that was such a rarity. It almost felt uncomfortable. Like, you know what I mean? But then it just became a long game of trust. So I would go, like, I would call them. I would try to get an appointment that day. Like, let me come over, just see the house. I might have a buyer, might not. We have a database,
Sure.
I would go over there. I'd drop off my stuff. I'd just ask them questions about their life. I didn't even really care about the house, right? So it's Central Florida too. All the houses, it's like milk boxes. Like it's just all the same. So then I would learn about their life. And then on Fridays, I would text them, have a good weekend. Hopefully you sell your house. I'm still looking. And then on Mondays, I would call them and see how the weekend went. And it was just a bang, 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 bang system. And then, sometimes Mondays would hit and they'd be like, oh, I sold it. Oh, I'm actually going to use this agent. And then I would try to get the listing appointment in the time. Like why don't I just show you what you do? You seem super stressed. I'll just come over, show you what we do. And that was it. And then it just became like rinse and repeat at that point. Some people were mean, but some people are lovely. I still get referrals from some of them this was 2018, 7 years ago.
Well, you lived in New York, so your skin's probably pretty thick for the people that have things to say, right?
Yeah, I mean it's thick, and also as an actor, man, rejection was part of my day. That like I went on so many auditions, and they would say, "Hey, we don't want you because your face, or because your body, or because the way you sound." So when they said no to, they said, "Yeah," and it was with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, right? So when I go and with FSBOs, you're competing, right? Which was good. Hey, we're interviewing 4 agents.
Sure.
I would know them, and I would get to know them, and I was like 4. That's all. That's it. Great. I'm used to like 300 people compete. Like, and so if I didn't get it, it wasn't that big of a deal. Or if I didn't get it because the other agent was charging 1% as opposed to 6, I was like, well, I'm not gonna do that. So it became clear to me that was easy. I mean, it wasn't awesome when you get rejected, but it wasn't as bad as I was used
loss
to.
is just perceived, right? Like there's a question I'll ask my guests. I'll ask you at the end, and it's technically how did failure shape your life, right? And what I've noticed is every successful person usually gets lit up. Actually, answer that question now. How did failure shape your life?
Oh, what? So interesting enough is when you're an actor and you get cast in a show, you rehearse it, right? After each rehearsal, everybody sits down and they just tell you everything you did wrong to get better, right? Because there's a small time. We have 2 weeks to rehearse this thing, and then people are going to watch it. So you just naturally get used to be like, all right, tell me real quick, what are my notes, so I can get better fast. So in real estate, it was a little different because nobody's watching me. So after every FISBO appointment or phone call or whatever, I would stop and I would note myself kind of like in real time, like, okay, well, that went wrong. What would I do better here? What could I do better there? Let me try this next time. So it was just, to me, I was like, and it's speed. I was like, I need to get better faster. So I think failure, even like running a team, like it's expensive to run a team and run a business. So
True.
I went once we got good, I would take a chunk of change and know, like, this is gamble money, whether it's a lead source, whether it's a tool, whether it's a new CRM, whether it's a media person. I have 6 months to spend this. If it doesn't work out, I understood that it was almost like when you go to Vegas, you're like, okay, I have $300 to spend or $1,000 to spend. If I lose it all, it's entertainment money, right? So I treated the failures like that. I was like, okay, if I lose this 15, 20 grand, which is a lot of money, but I know I'll learn in the process to get better next time I have 20 grand, 30 grand to spend, right?
Yeah, there was a $40,000 coaching program, not sell it, that I purchased for the team. And we went through an entire year and vaporized, right? Like the value I don't think was there in terms of what I was sold versus what we actually needed. And that's okay. Like I told one of my team members the other day, and he's like gagged when I said the price. I'm like, no. I said, I got referrals from it. Like I actually made good use of the ecosystem and it was fine. Like I actually don't look at that as a negative. I look at it as a positive because now our meeting cadence is so dialed. Like we have a red zone meeting, we do our town halls and our family reunions. We played around with the calendar. Our red zone meetings, we did it this morning, are really just moving the balls forward for our clients into the end zones, dealing with roadblocks and role playing. And we have so much fun doing it. It reminds me actually of the acting thing that you were talking about, because we did a role play this morning around a stage of lead and where they were at in the process. And we give critical feedback and they take it. And it's just, all right, like, what do I need to do in this conversation to be a little bit better next time? And it is just that 1% better every day forever, right?
Yeah. Well, and at $40,000, like maybe the thing wasn't what you wanted to be, but overall, like the learning experience worth it all day long, and you guys have that camaraderie of saying, remember how that sucked? It's good too, right?
And they also know that I invested that in them. Like Shannon and I pulled the trigger and we invested that in the team because that we're prepared to do that and eat it, knowing that we believe that we'll make it work no matter what. It was actually when I met Sirhan the first time, the first email that I sent him, I actually offered for him to mentor me. I wrote him basically a blank check for that meeting once a year. And it was because, and I said, I remember saying this to my wife, I'm like, even if he sucks and he's the worst mentor ever, at least I know I'll know I invested that and I'll get it back some way. Like even it has nothing to do with him. He actually said, no, I don't do that.
Right.
Come and see me in a year. And you know the story. But I think also being willing to bet on yourself is absolutely key, which I'm sure you guys have done over and over.
Well, yeah, and you have to think like your team, right? Your brokerage, like they're betting on you. So if you don't bet on them, that's not a fair situation. That's not a partnership, right?
I don't think anything fires me up more than when I realize we don't have the right partners and we part ways. And in my mind, I'm like, bet against me. Let's talk about that a little bit. Through your time, I'm sure you've gone through, realizing that you're not in alignment with some people. What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, so I put this chip on my shoulder. I don't have a degree. I have a certificate of theater, right? I feel like I have this business that's successful, but I always have imposter syndrome just because I didn't do the regular right? But it also has fueled me to prove myself and everybody else wrong, right? So I'm like, you don't have to do this certain way that everybody thinks you should have to do it to have success in this world. As long as you work hard and you pay attention and you're nice and you have empathy, right? But I will say, like, it's like there's a story, and we can say brokerages, I guess. In 2018, we were moving from KW to somewhere, and I didn't know where we wanted to go. It was just Sarah and I, and
Sure.
Compass was in Florida, and I remember I was like, oh, Compass, they look cool. They're sexy. They're like, it's cool. I was like, that's a cool. And then
Good
there was
branding.
EXP.
Sure.
Yeah, super cool branding. Then there was EXP that was new as well. I was like, they're cool as well, but Compass seems a little more elevated. So I remember I sent an email to them, and they weren't in Orlando yet. And I basically got a phone call with a recruiter, and I told him the numbers. I was like, I've only been in this for 2 years, but my wife and I just sold like 80 homes in 2 years. I feel like we're okay. Like, are you guys coming here? Because I'd like to be considered.
Sure.
And then he called me back and he's like, look, you're not where you need to be, and you're not really Compass material. Yeah, I was like, okay. So literally, I was like, and it put a chip in my shoulder. And again, that guy he has no idea what he even did to me. He probably doesn't work there
No,
anymore. You know
for
what I
sure.
mean? He's just a guy. He
Yeah.
was in New York, and but it fueled me to just like daily for a long time, And Compass sure did come in like a month later, right? Like it wasn't me. They picked somebody else, and they're all
Sure.
great. It's nothing to do with anything. They're more established, right?
Yeah.
And then years later, the same thing happened. Sirhan was in Miami, and I started sending in Ryan DMs and emails, and then I got a meeting with Yasser, and then basically it was, and I didn't tell anybody this story. And then I was like, well, are you coming to Orlando? And, Ryan and I had the meeting, and he was like, we weren't going to, but we weren't not coming. So, and we clicked, and it was the same with you two, right? There's just something where we're like, oh, we're on the same wavelength. And he was like, let's open Orlando. Sure. Here are the keys, go. And then, so there was 3-4 months of ramp up. And then the night before we moved our license over, I sent him an email saying, hey, just so you know, like I tried to do this 5 years ago with Compass, and they basically told me no. And here I am. Like, it's almost like redoing it. So again, looking back, I'm like, if that one little recruiter guy who never probably, I don't know where he is today. I don't even know what his name is.
Sure. Yeah.
Sirhan Orlando wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's fascinating. I, as you're telling that story, I can think of 2 or 3 times in my career where people just said things to me that I knew were jabs that came out of nowhere, and it stuck with me. And it was totally that chip on your shoulder saying, okay, I'll show you. Right. And really, it's up to you. Nobody else is going to do the actual work for you, or it allows you to really think about, is this the lane that I actually want to be in? And if it is, double, triple, 10x down on that lane. Right.
Yeah, there definitely was moments of, oh, maybe I'm not as good as I thought, or maybe this
Yeah.
isn't where I should be, or maybe I should just lay low. I don't know. Like, and then even in the next 5 years, like the deals falling through, agents leaving, not understanding systems, burning money. That's where you're like, gosh, is this where I'm supposed to be? But again, you can kind of go back to that moment. It's like, no, if you work hard and you're smart and you listen, you can figure it out. Right.
Yeah. That is business, right? Like, I think looking back when you're in it, you're always thinking, man, like, shouldn't this be smoother? And then you look at people that have accomplished great things, and they're like, no, not at all. I sent something to Ryan a couple of weeks ago, and it was referencing that exact thing. So he's like, oh, so my insomnia and craziness is totally normal. I'm like, great, good job, keep going, right? Like that is the game. That said, I guess what is your moonshot vision for the future of your team and Orlando real estate as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, what was cool is opening up Sirhan in Orlando. There's multiple reasons. Obviously, being connected with Ryan Sirhan's great. He's good to be around. He's smart, driven, right? It motivates you. He holds you accountable. But to me, I was like, the opportunity really is now agents in Central Florida can be with Sirhan. They can back that brand. And then buyers and sellers can pick the service of Sirhan. That wasn't available, right? They had to go to what they knew. So now we've been here a little over like 14 months. We've made some waves, but my goal is to make sure that people, like truly like luxury listings, luxury sellers, can fully understand, like, oh, it's the Sirhan. It's not a watered down version. It's not a miniature version. It's not a Ryan-less version. It truly is a Sirhan experience.
Well, let's expand on that. Actually, that's literally where my brain was going next. Like, people will think Brian, they'll think the TV show is, I know what his competition will say about an Orlando office, because the only thing they can say is, well, he's in New York. Like, he's not actually going to pay any attention to your listing. It's just a logo on a t-shirt. Like, how did they extend that down to you and get supercharged? I have an idea, but I'd love to hear it from you.
Yeah, sure. So there's multiple things, right? So, and we're already getting pushback. Sellers are, I mean, some are layups, right? Some are like, oh, I watched the show, you should sell my house. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. I never thought that would happen. But then there's pushback. There's pushback from agents too, right? And our competition. Multiple things. We're piloting Sirhan Studios in Orlando. So we have our first Sirhan Studios outside of New York. So I kind of raised my hand. I said, hey, we need we need something that you guys have that we don't have. So that was created last June. So right now we have, he lives in Orlando, but it's all ran through New York. And then it's all published. So anytime we have a seller, I say, hey, listen, we're going to do a property tour. It's going to be filmed just like the Sirhan. It is the Sirhan brand, and it's going to be exposed to the Sirhan socials, which is the most followed real estate brand in the world. That's a cheat code, right there. And then also, to me, and I don't know how Canada is, but in the States, there's all these capped models, and I was with multiple capped models, so you pay a certain amount, right? Sirhan's uncapped, and he said to me in our original meeting, because I was with EXP, and I was shopping other brokerages as you do when you're going to leave. And the cap model is very, to me, now that I'm in this one, it's a very DIY model, which I think is good, but it's figure it out yourself, hang your license. We're not really going to help you, but we also don't charge you much. We'll be there for you, and we have brand recognition.
They can't service you because there's no margin.
You're only worth $16,000 every agent, which it's a collection at that point, which is fine. It's a good model. It's just for me. Yeah. So he looked at me, he said, listen, if you're with EXP, and EXP is a great brokerage. They're great brokers. They did a lot for me. He said, if you got a $10 million listing, would they give a shit if you sold it? I was like, well, he's like, honestly, I was like, well, they'd post it, right? They'd celebrate with me. He's like, yeah, but would they truly, truly care? I was like, well, he's like, you capped, right? I was like, yeah, I capped. He's like, if you get a $10 million listing, I get paid when you sell it.
Such an interesting approach, but it's very accurate. Because it's when I sit down with clients, I was dealing with a high-end seller up near my office, beautiful trophy listing. And she wanted me to do it for a commission that I'm not willing to do it for. And she wanted me to pay for all the staging. And she said, well, if this person will do it cheaper. And I said, let's just look at the business model, in my opinion. So that person's going to get paid more to sell your neighbor's house because they're offering more compensation than she's making selling yours. So if you were really somebody looking out for yourself, you're probably going to use this listing, sell everything in the neighborhood, and then maybe you'll end up selling this house. Now, I'm just explaining business models. I'm okay with every business model because there are all kinds of different models out there. Same thing that you said, like I have nothing but respect for them. But my model doesn't work for her because the second we sign the paycheck in my market, it's a $15,000 cost for my staff, my time, the resources we're going to spend on. And that's not that much money for somebody in New York or Orlando, but it sure is in London, Ontario. And I think as a broker being able to put that up front, I don't think Sirhan is in the same business that EXP or any of the bricks and mortars are, because they can't be if the models are so vastly different, right? And I think the same thing about how we operate.
Correct. And it's a model being built in real time, right? Where it's being built for agent by agents, and there's roadblocks, right? There's brick walls you run into, but he sent a survey out 2 days ago to every agent. Tell me what we can get better at. There's only 1,300 agents, right? Yeah. So, but again, like to talk to agents or possible sellers and buyers, it's a real thing, saying like, we're all like, Ryan Sirhan is invested, like more than any other CEO, except just maybe a smaller broker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you kidding me? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. I did a call with Brian Henry and we were doing something for Sell It. And he's like, and Ryan's going to introduce you. I'm like, isn't he on vacation? He's like, yeah, but he just feels like he needs to be there. And I laugh because I'm like, well, that's actually a good sign. But I think it's also something as somebody that's believing in a leader like yourself, you want to see as an earmark that he's not just checking out on his mega yacht 24/7 and just collecting the paychecks, because then it does feel like you're just working for a corporate entity, which it is what it is. And I think the leaderships that get it, like I remember talking to Gary Keller once and asked him, how did you scale culture? And he was like, man, he's like, you got to just take care of the 6 people around you and then empower them to take care of another 6 and another 6. And he kept his circle really, really small as he did it. And I know the people closest to him have a ton of respect for what he built as well, right?
A ton. And there's so many ways to do it. And there is a point where you can't scale a person, right? Yeah. So how do you do it? I mean, technology's faster now and FaceTime, and that's all good. Texting's easy.
Dude, with AI, I don't know. Maybe you can scale a person. I've seen some pretty wild stuff coming out lately. So
you're completely right.
Yeah. So I'm going to actually ask you a couple more questions, let you go, because I got a busy day. We got to spend some time speaking on stage together at Sell It 2024, which was amazing. I had so much fun listening to you and Talia and the whole conversation of the team that was up there. From there to today, where's your mindset shifted in terms of where the market's going, things you're working on? Are you in a different headspace? Just give me a little bit of info.
Yeah, that was like 8 months ago.
September 2024, October.
Yeah. I definitely feel like people are like, there's weird energy in the marketplace,
Sure.
all over, right? Buyers, sellers. It's not necessarily uneasy. It's just there's not a consistent drumbeat from any party agent. So you have to go into every transaction or every situation fully open to like, what are we doing here? And very cooperative, right? Which isn't always the case.
Mhm.
So I think, to me, it's really like, it's not walking on eggshells because I'm not anxious. I'm just very intentional about every situation, no matter what it is. Or even an agent that had a bad year and the agent's having a good year. I'm like, okay, well, how are you doing that? You know what I mean? Because it's just everything. There's no even flow. So I think, to me, it's really paying attention to what it is. And then, so like, everybody's doing social media, but people aren't really leaning into being authentic,
Mhm.
right? Just be who you are. And I know everybody says that, but I think it's
But
hard for
like
people to
really
just,
be who you are.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
like, like, now there's so much attention,
Yeah.
and like, if you go, like, if like the agents doing listing videos that just like do this really cool flashy thing, I'm like, I don't know anything about you, and I don't know anything about the house, right? So I'm like, so I'm just trying to stay ahead of the curve of like, okay, how do you can't reinvent a wheel with content, and now everybody can make as much as possible. It's easy to hire a videographer and an editor and a social media that's easy now. It's cheap. Upwork, you can do it. So now it's like just creating the most authentic version of yourself online, and it's like how to always continue to do that and not worry about what everybody else is saying. You know what I mean? Almost isolate yourself a little bit and be like, all right, how am I going to get more business specifically through social media? And then planning it and actually executing it.
Personally for me, a lot of that comes from thinking on that, like what I actually enjoy doing, what people that I'm serving the content to enjoy, and finding a synergy between those things. What do you get at? What will people pay you for? And what interests do you have? Like, I love photography. And I'm like, well, I'm in some pretty cool cities and properties all the time. Why don't I carry my camera with me, my R5? Like, I just don't even think about it. And there's an integration there where people like photography. I'm like, maybe that's something that I should do more of, right? And I think it's a journey of self-discovery, right?
It is. I mean, my wife and I have 5 children, and they're all small, which is crazy. But I think people are genuinely I know they are. They're genuinely curious. How do you run a business and run a family that big?
5 children.
So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Well,
letting
unless
them
you
in
have a
that
farm, and
world,
then it would make sense, but you don't have a
right?
farm.
And I don't.
Yeah.
So letting it, like, if I wasn't me, I'd be like, what? So I think, again, I know that that's
Yeah.
interesting to people, and it also shows who I am, and not every day is perfect, and not every day is great, but everybody has responsibilities and things, and it's just a connection thing of like, okay. And I also think, like, again, going back to, I have a lot to learn and grow, but I think people maybe who haven't decided where they're going to go next, or what it is like, well, I have 5 kids. I used to be an actor, and I don't have a degree. If I can do this, you can too, right? Like, so I think I lean on those two things quite a bit to be who I am authentically.
Yeah, I think you're somebody that has a natural curiosity where stuff comes up. You're probably even asking ChatGPT, hey, my 2-year-old just did this. How should I react? Right. Like, I have a lot of conversations externally. Actually, something you said earlier too, about being critical as an actor of yourself. We talked about role playing. I've transcribed listing appointments before, and then actually had conversation with ChatGPT saying, hey, I felt like maybe they didn't understand this section. How could I have structured that better? It's wild to see the
I
feedback.
love that, dude. I never even thought about that.
If you're
I
role playing
love
with your
that.
team, run fireflies in the background if you're doing it virtually, and then straight up take the transcription and ask it to be critical. Like, tell it you are a high-end real estate negotiator. I was at a listing appointment, didn't get it for XYZ. What could I have done better? It's unbelievable. So
that's amazing. No, I use ChatGPT. It's like my best friend. It's so funny. Like, but I use it to self-discover all the time, but I've not thought about recording myself in real time.
My wife got bit by a spider. We actually sent a photo of the spider to ChatGPT. We're like, is this poisonous? Answer the question immediately. It's a crazy world we live in.
Yeah, I took a picture of my kids like 3rd grade math, which I'm like, I don't remember how to do that. I didn't even know how to do it then. I took a picture. I was like, help me explain this problem to my 9-year-old. I was like,
unbelievable. Yeah. Well, we're going into a different world. I'd be really excited to do this in person, maybe at another event, or if I come down to Orlando. I appreciate your time, Mark. If anybody watching this wants to connect with him, go find him on Instagram, all the socials, or just reach out to me and I'll make a personal connection. Mark is an absolute killer. He drops so much knowledge. If you're a buyer seller in the Orlando area, make sure to give him a shout at his team to get the full power of Sirhan, and we'll see you on the next one, Mark.
Thank you, sir.